Hey, this is Gene. I just been watching some movies here, and all of a sudden I checked Twitter, and apparently we just had a lot of injuries. Um, I'm not really that bothered by it, to be honest. I know everybody's going crazy. The fan channels are going crazy. Mark Goldberg is going crazy right now, blaming everybody. Apparently, Manu's hurt. Ahmad is out for the season. Ugarte is hurt, and also Collier is hurt. We play Spurs tomorrow away. And we were all hoping that with the extra time training with the team, that we would put out a decent performance tomorrow and maybe win that game. But at this point in the decision, there was never a reason to think that we're going to the top four or top six or top seven. The only thing we were playing in this season is just to get either win the European Cup or the Cup or the FA Cup. Um, but when I look at the team that we still have left, the team that finished third, that players played on that team that are still on this team that haven't been playing much, like Erickson and Casemiro. I think we can get enough wins so we don't have to worry about relegation. I mean, people are going to say we're going to be relegated. I, I think all we have to do is get probably 2 wins of the next 14 games. So I think that we'll be okay with that. I think 32 or 33 points will probably save us. But I think we'll still get over 40. I think that we'll still get over that. And of course, I think he's going to probably have some young players to come up, which that's good. We did that in '93, so there's no reason why we can't do it now. But everybody's running around with their fucking hair on fire, and I mean I've been sick for a couple days now. My wife's been sick for like 3 months or 3 weeks. Eventually, I got hers. I thought that I wasn't going to get anything from it. All of a sudden, I started to get sick the other day. I'm just not. Look, this is going to be somebody in the minority when it comes to the team. I don't think Ahmad's been that great this year. He's had decent moments in games, but I still think he does this very similar to what Anthony does. That when Sancho was here, even back to Yanazai, guys that just are not as fast as everybody thinks he is, and they end up running the ball and they stop us. They always track back. And I'm old school Manchester United, obviously the last 40 years. Obviously have been watching longer than that, really longer. I'm 50 now. It's 50 years of watching them. But being able to watch them every week, that's the last 30, 40 years. Um, but our wingers are not, they have no pace. And our best winger is Garnacho, and he doesn't have electric pace. There was a time that Rashford had electric pace, but he doesn't have it anymore. He might find that in Aston Villa, maybe. But there was a time that he did have that. I'm used to guys like Baborski and Giggs just running down the thing and nobody could stop them. We don't have that in our team. So, am I upset that these guys got hurt? Well, not really. Yes, Ahmad has been a good player and might be our best player, offensive player this year. But still, he made. I mean, seriously, if you go back and watch the last couple of games, he made so many bad passes that could have definitely led to something on a counter attack that we lose the game. He does have certain stills that he can be good, but he's going to be in a team that's a lot better around him. That then you could just use him as a flair player. That we used to always have. We always had a flair player because we were so good everywhere else that we could afford a guy like Nanny or something like that. And Nanny is faster than Ahmad is anyway. And that's the one thing that we really lack is pace. Where we did under Ole, but when we had Dan James, what would we do now if we just have him? He's doing really well in the championship, but whatever. The only issue that I have about all this, it all sucks, obviously. If you're a Manchester United supporter, it sucks. But all the leaks that came out earlier in the week saying that Ruben has to acquiesce to the players and the system that he's playing, clearly something happened in training because they've been hiding these facts that some of these injuries. So I think something happened in training, and this was left out. It didn't tell who actually got hurt, but they said that he needs to basically change his system because apparently these guys were getting probably hurt in training. So they didn't come out and say anything about it, but now on Saturday before the game, we know that they were actually injured earlier in the week. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Probably not. I don't understand these guys actually could do that to themselves. Obviously, if you were going in there trying to, he probably was actually having them do full training on a regular pitch and wanted people to be more aggressive, and shit like that happens. I mean, Cole Scholes used to do that all the time in training. He used to beat and hit people all the time. Um, but I just looking at what we have on the bench, what we might actually come up from the youth team, and I'm just saying, yeah, maybe Spurs will be looking like, oh my God, this is a good way we're going to win. They've been beating us anyway. They don't really need us to have these injuries, but you look at that. I think that gives Xerxes where he should be in the team. Gives Rasmus another chance to do better. So I mean, you get Rasmus up front. You got Xerxes and probably Garnacho in the tens, and you got whether Casemiro or Bruno in the midfield behind them, and then the five in the back or the three in the wing backs. You're gonna have Durku, Delo. Maybe you're gonna have Mazarawi as one of the center backs. Delict, maybe Euro, maybe or Maguire. I mean, we have players that we can. I mean, that team, Casemiro has been in a team that beat Spurs before. Even if you bring in Ericsson to hold down the game later in the game, or we need a goal and we need somebody to open up their defense, he'll be fine. We're not going to have any real depth in those positions. But I'll be 100% honest about this. I think Mainu's had a couple of good games this year. Other than that, he's regressed a little bit, but that's all. And he's learning this new system. It probably isn't really good for him, and he doesn't have any really pace either. He's really good with the ball at his feet. He can do things like that. He's not a destroyer in midfield. I think he's been highly overrated, uh, and he might do well in other teams, but he's not quick at all. Lack of pace in the midfield, and I think all along that's been the problem that we have. We have to get away from Bruno. We have to get really good midfielders that have pace and strength in the midfield. I will say that those are hard to come by, and we need to get real pace on the wings or on the wing backs, one way or the other. So I'm not. I mean, everybody's like I said, everybody's like going crazy about it, and I just can't. First of all, I'm sick, so I don't really give a shit. Um, but it's the owner's problem. It's the coach's problem. He shouldn't be training him like that. It's the fitness staff problem. We don't know nothing about this. Um, he finally had 9 games or 9 days to train, and all he does is just have the intensity go up a little bit, and this happens. Just shows we don't have the players that we need in that system. And as I said before, probably what we need to make sure we don't get relegated is probably 35 points. It might be lower than that. Um, and yes, it's going to look bad if we don't win the Europa League or we don't win the FA Cup. We're not going to be in Europe next year. Okay, we've been here before, and it will give him a chance to just build what he wants to build. All I can hope is that the players that come out tomorrow actually gives a shit. If they give a shit, put on performance, and if we lose, fine. But I don't want to hear is if we bring somebody in who's 17, 18 that has been a youth team and he makes a mistake at the end of the game that loses the game, I don't want anybody of these guys say anything about him. I don't. Oh well, he's good enough to start. Then if he makes a mistake, we're going to say shit about him. None of these kids would have thought 2 days ago that they were going to be maybe starting for Manchester United in the Premiership. So normally the guys that come up in the past have done fairly well. It's not like we don't have players or football players that are on the youth team or 21 teams that can come in and do something if we need it. But the other part is we actually have world top winners. We got Champions League winners. We have team players that have the ability to come in and do shit. Now, Spurs would not be the best team to play first because they're going to go right through our midfield, regardless who's going to be there. Even if it's Ugarte and Mina Menu, they probably would dominate that anyway. To be honest with you, all the midfielders, the only ones that I would even keep would be Ugarte and Collier. And I would find a way to do something about Bruno because in this system, he can't, he doesn't do what he needs to do correctly. Now, we'll see what he does. He might be in the front in the tens, but who you're going to put back, I just, it depends. I mean, they're saying Collier and Ugarte is out. I mean, I was hoping that if we just had Collier there, and then you could put Bruno with him, and then you don't really need to bring in Casemiro then, and it will be fine. We won't have Ahmad. I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, this would have been a good thing for Anthony to come back in, but it sucks that we don't have these players. Um, but I think that Anthony's going to get his chance in the offseason. I think that he'll have it. Um, anyway, look, it might be 5-0 tomorrow, and it'll be, oh my God, it's relegation fodder, and we're going to go it. I mean, it would be an interesting story if we end up getting relegated and then have to try to come back into the league. One of the biggest clubs in the world be relegated. Um, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we got enough points at this point that all we really need is about, let's say, 10 points out of the next 14 games or 13 games. All that really means is a couple wins, and then get a draw here, a draw there, and we'll be fine. And really, when you look at the team that we have, whether you don't like Casemiro or you don't like Ericsson or whatever, we have enough to get points. So it's just whether or not the players are going to actually do what they need to do, or the stuff that was leaked out earlier in the week was in response to what happened in training, and they're going to down tools against Tottenham. If that happens, there's a possibility we might get relegated. Or, as stubborn as Ruben is, he might actually bring up all the youth team, which I've talked about for years. Just bring him in here, and still, even if we just did that and sprinkled up with the players that really want to play under Ruben, we would still get enough 7 or 8 points. We just would. So it'll be interesting tomorrow. Obviously, this is the number one thing in the world because it's Manchester United. All the shit. I mean, Liverpool for the last couple of days have been just complaining about happening in their game against Everton, and just it's been everywhere. And all the reporters were all Liverpool fans, always have been because they were good back when they were young kids. So, but this is clearly a bigger story than that. Everybody knows probably Liverpool is going to win the league, but this story today might be the biggest story of the season. And we also know that just yesterday that City just got other charges that are not going to be taken care of. Not the ones that we're talking about 115, but other things, other suits that they had against the EPL. But still, the biggest story in all of the Premiership is this today. The point is, all they had to do was stand up and they're athletes, they're men. Just end up and stop with the small dick energy, go out there and play like men, give some intensity, and we'll be fine. This was never going to be a year that we're going to win the league, or probably not win any cups. Just, I think my wife's coming home. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm okay about it. We'll be fine, one way or the other. And wouldn't it be just like United to all of a sudden find good players and all of a sudden go on a run for no reason, go beat Arsenal, knock them out of the champion, not winning the champion or the Premiership. It would be all about United, and that's all I can do. I know we'll be fine, and if we're not, just think about that. I'll just be watching the championship next year, and imagine those road games and those stadiums. I mean, anyway, I mean, obviously there's bigger issues. We might actually go into bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. If we end up not getting to Europe, there's a lot of stuff that we don't end up keeping up anymore. A lot of our advertising and all that stuff would go away. Although Manchester United is such a huge monolith, I don't think it will hurt, but not that much. But everything else is going on. What's going on with the cuts at Manchester United? It's all part of it. So anyway, I'm not going to say it's our supporters deserve this. I don't think we're as bad as Arsenal supporters or Liverpool's, but some of them are out there that just absolutely run around with their head cut off when shit happens. This happens, um, and what we got to do is we have to um, get the waste or the players that can't play the system and get them out of this club. That doesn't mean Mano has to go. Doesn't mean that Ahmad has to go. Shit happens. I mean, it's a ligament. Shit happens. He could have done it himself. He just turned a certain way, and it happened. And it's not like these guys have been playing a whole lot of football either. Whereas Rashford was playing every day under Ten Hag, and so was Garnacho. Um, but I just hope that Garnacho goes out and plays well tomorrow. There's no reason why we can't at least be a threat to them tomorrow. Arsenal will be a different game, but even though Arsenal is not where they need to be either, but we can definitely do something tomorrow, and hopefully those guys will stand up and show what they're supposed to do. They're professional footballers. They need to be able to do it. And the thing is, we have enough players on the team, regardless of what just happened. All these guys got hurt. We can still go out and show up. I mean, when you look at the times that Ferguson took out there with teams that would never, if you had them in our team now, people would say, how the hell did Ferguson do that back then? Guys that you would never think that could be at the same level that what we already have in our team. Even though we're one of the worst teams that we've had, one versions we've had, you still have Xerxes up front. You still have Rasmus up there. You still have Bruno. We have good players. Casemiro, if he's going to play tomorrow, it's not like we can't do it. So, and if they've known that this has been hurt for a couple days, these players know this. Just it'll be interesting to see who actually is going to be coming on the bus tomorrow or whatever when they come off. If Collier's there or whatever. I don't even know. You know, this is was always going to be a hard game. You know, but hey, this is Spurs, man. We could still beat Spurs, and like I said, they might beat us 4-0, and everybody's going to say it's the end of the world. At the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter. It's just sports. As much as I like sports, if you stop like the NFL, I don't watch it anymore because like it becomes so politicized and the players don't really give a shit anymore. They just pay for the money. All I want to see with those players, even though they're getting paid more than anybody else in their positions, because they play for Manchester United, I want them to just give a shit. If they go out there and they lose 3-2 and it's a great game and we did everything we could possibly do with the players on the pitch, how can we not just applaud that? And we hope that we get that. That's all we really need, regardless of all these injuries. So I'm going to stop right now. Let me know what you think in the comments, and tell me what you think the game score will be tomorrow. Before I leave, I'll just say this is what I think it'll be. I think that De Ligt is going to be in there with Maguire, and probably Mazraoui will be on the other side of the three center backs, and then you're going to have Dooku and Delo, Casemiro, Bruno, Garnacho, Xerxes, and Hoyland up front. There's stuff there, and we just have to. I know we don't, the midfield sucks. Got nobody's going to be able to stop anybody unless Collier is fine. If Collier comes in, I think we'll be okay. The only other thing that might happen is that Yora might come in for De Ligt. I don't know. We'll see. But I think they'll both. One will come on in about 70 minutes. The other one will come off. It'd be that type of thing. Or maybe De Ligt might go in for Maguire. So it ain't like we did this at Liverpool a couple of years ago. We did this at Liverpool. They had 20 shots, didn't do anything. We almost could have scored at the end of the game, and we got a draw out of it. We can go there and not let them score if we're so worried about getting points. But I think we're going to see something more than that. The players that have to deal with all this stuff, that have seen their other teammates get injured, I think that they'll show up. I hope. That's all I can hope for. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you after the game on Sunday. Bye.